Hey, everybody's Ken and Daniil,
Hello.
and we are here with Isaac Lane. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be on the show.
Your story is just really relatable, and
Yep.
I think it's awesome. You know, you kind of started at zero and you worked your way up. Right?
When my first year, I just spent really just networking with people and reading books and really just learning like the basics of real estate. I'm a big numbers guy. Like it just has to make sense to me numbers wise for me to really feel comfortable to get into it. So the first year kind of learned as much as I could and then try to save up as much as money as I could for a down payment. So at the time, I was fresh out of college and I had a job at the time where I was traveling all the time. So they kind of pretty much paid for all my living expenses. So lived out of hotels for like 2 years. They paid for food every day, gave me a rental car for like transportation. So pretty much I saved all the money I was making and half of it went to the stock market. The other half went towards a down payment. So after that first year, I bought a duplex in like Waukegan, Illinois, which is about 30 minutes north of Chicago. And that's kind of how I got started. And currently I invest primarily in like Columbus, Ohio, and I currently have 3 doors and trying to look to scale and expand a little bit.
So when you bought that duplex, like what was going through your head? Like,
Kind of decided when I just started like studying, like saving up money, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. If I lose the money, I lose the money. But at least I know like I tried and confident about it, very optimistic that it was going to turn out very well. Didn't go as well as I thought it was going to. And it was a learning curve, which was great. I bought the duplex and again, that was the whole idea of like passive income. So I didn't really want to manage the property. So I got a property manager for it. And I thought like, hey, I give it to the property manager. Don't got to worry about it. Call it a day.
Famous last word.
yeah.
That was not it. I didn't realize I needed to manage the property manager. I didn't realize how important location was for the property. It wasn't in the greatest location. So I had issues with people breaking into the property. The property was on the older side. It was from like the 1920s. So I had a lot of like plumbing type issues. So I got to learn things very quickly. The good thing about the property was I ended up selling it after 6 months, but because how the market was going, I ended up making money from that sell, which was really nice. But
What would you have done differently as a first-time buyer? And maybe you can help some people that are listening. What would you have looked at?
the biggest thing I would have looked at is just the location of the property, which is like something you can't really change. Like
Right.
you rehab the property itself, but if it's in a D-class neighborhood, like there's nothing you can do in
Right.
terms of that. You're not gonna get better tenants. So I would have just researched in terms of like the safest areas are there, and I guess what the best, I guess, tenant demographic would be in that area, would be the biggest thing I would have done. The second thing I would have done is kind of looked for a newer property.
Okay.
The older properties, just like 1910, like that, it just has a lot of maintenance issues, and I did budget for maintenance, but not that much that I was having with it. So just a newer property in like a better area.
So after so you sold the duplex. So then what happens? Are you like never again with real estate, or you're like, I got to try this again, but do it a little differently?
Yeah, so I had bought the duplex, held that for about 6 months. During that time, I have a younger sister at that time who was a senior in high school. She was going to the Ohio State.
Nice.
And she saw what I was doing and wanted to get into house hacking, out to her college roommates. And her freshman year, she has to live on campus. But after that, she moving out. So I told her that I would help her look for a property. Started researching Columbus and just really liked the macroeconomics of the city itself, just in terms of population. It's the second biggest city in the Midwest, which to me, I never thought. Like Chicago's first, but I would have thought other cities were. And then half of the population is renters, which is pretty nice just to have that big.
Good for you.
Pool.
Look at that detail. No, it's true. No, this is really good information, guys. Those two things are so important.
Yeah, so after seeing that, I actually, before I sold the property in Waukegan, I bought another duplex in Columbus that I was going to house hack, live on one side, but I was traveling all the time for work, so I was there very rarely, and then renting out the other. And then I sold the property in Waukegan and 1031 that into a single family property in Columbus too.
So for those of you don't know what a house hack is, you want to explain? Because I think some people might not know.
Yeah. So a house hack, just the basic of it is just you live in one part of the house. So you have a house or a multifamily property, you live on one side of the unit and you rent out the other, and you're able to use like a owner occupied loan to get a low down payment to get that property.
You kind of follow 3 points each time, right?
Yep.
So 3 points of investing. And I think that'd be very good for some of the listeners, especially some of the new listeners. So these are 3 things for out-of-state investing that you came up with. I like these. So you want to go over them?
The big 3 things would be just networking, creating a system, and then also just taking action. So first part in terms of networking, I think your network is your net worth. So making sure that you know people in that area, the big four people on your team, your real estate agent, property manager, a contractor, and a lender. I think, especially if you're investing out of state and you buying properties that are like sight unseen, you have to really rely on your real estate agent to really know that area, to know that you're actually going in a really good location that has low crime or will have a good tenant base. And then also you want to have that property manager to give you a second opinion of what the status of that property, like what it looks like at the time, and then also what rents will possibly be in that area.
Okay, awesome. So that's the network. And the next one was systematize.
Yeah, so just making systems for your pretty much your business. So a big thing for me was just kind of writing down step by step, especially just starting out, like what I needed to do in order to acquire the properties in terms of, how many properties I need to underwrite each day, just to make sure, because I can see myself a lot of times when I first started, like I'd underwrite like 5 properties and not get anything. I'm like, all right, I did something for that day. And I kind of realized, like, when I put out more input, I'd find at least, like, if I did maybe 10 or 15 properties a day and underwrite, I'd find maybe 2 or 3 that were possible that could possibly cash flow. So just kind of coming up with a system of like what you're actually doing. And then also like in terms of like your processes during like, let's say like you're trying to acquire a property, in terms of finding a lender, finding your property manager after you get that property under contract, like what steps you're going through during the due diligence period, just so when you do want to scale, which I eventually want to do, you're able to delegate those kind of tasks out where you can do more important type tasks that will make you more money.
So I love the last part, the take action part, right? Which is the third piece of the 3 points. I think this is a lot of time analysis paralysis kicks in where people just don't do anything, right?
Yeah. I think especially like with real estate, there's so many different ways you can make money through like wholesaling, fixing and flipping, where you kind of get lost on like what you really want to do. I think you just got to like narrow down and decide what you want to do and just take like small steps every day, kind of working towards that. I feel like for me, I just kind of decided like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And just like each day is like, oh, find a lender. Nothing super hard. It's not like I was going to buy a property within one day, but hey, find a lender. Next day, find a property manager. And each day just kind of builds up for each other and kind of get to that point.
It is true. And I'm glad you brought up the confusion of all those choices too, like the wholesaling and the fix and flips and stuff like that. You, for whatever reason, you followed the principles of Rich Dad Poor Dad. You wanted the reoccurring revenue and the passive income.
Yeah.
How did you make that choice? Because that's actually the best choice, but it's the least done.
To me, it just made more sense. Like, hey, I just want the money, like.
Isaac, I agree. I just, like most people, they see that equity and they want it.
Yeah.
They pay the tax and then they scramble to do it again. Yours is slow and steady. I think that wins the race every time. I've always done that, but I always feel like I'm like the exception.
Well, thanks for being on the show, Isaac. Yeah. Yeah, we're excited to see where you go, and hopefully we see you again at Limitless.
Yeah, now you're in Phoenix. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you.
All right.